We all want healthy self-esteem, but did you know what healthy self-esteem is? According to Terrence Real in this book, healthy self-esteem is the ability to cherish oneself despite one's imperfections. Welcome to the channel. So happy you're here. Hey, James Miller, licensed mental health counselor here in the beautiful Sunshine State of Florida, and I'm so thankful you're here. Today we are talking about Terrence Real's book, I Don't Want to Talk About It, Male Depression. In that, we are talking about overt depression, a depression that men recognize they have, and covert depression, a man's depression that's outside of his awareness. When we're talking about shame and depression for men, we want to know, where does that come from? Terrence Real says that often comes from feelings of rejection and abandonment in childhood. Also, the shame for men particularly comes from the fact that we are socialized men to be strong, to be tough, be competitive. So that means that we perceive any type of mental health issues as shameful. We want to distance ourselves from that so we don't admit that to ourselves or others. I know as a clinician it's really complicated because on one hand I'm really happy to see so many men coming into therapy, which is why I also chose this topic specifically. On the other hand, it's still hard. It's like pulling teeth to help men understand, like, hey, you're depressed, it's okay. But on the other hand too, some men are, whenever I tell them, like, well, based off everything I see, I would say that you are moderately depressed because you meet this many symptoms. And the man will say, that makes me feel so good to hear you say that, actually. So it's like a relief for some men to even know that, hey, there's a word for what I'm feeling, so I really appreciate that. What are some of the overt symptoms of depression? Remember, overt means that the man recognizes he's feeling depressed, and some of those symptoms are helplessness, hopelessness, and worthlessness. What does that do to a man? It makes him feel this pain that he doesn't want to connect with, so he starts to distract himself with work, substances. But also, what does that do for the relationships of the man? For the relationships, it means that your partner seems to be aloof. Women come into therapy all the time saying, I'm so sick of my partner. He's not connecting with me. He's not emotionally there for me. So a lot of men, they just don't know. They don't have that capacity because remember we talked about in childhood how men turn away from emotions because they see it as being vulnerable or weak and they don't want to be that. Shame underlies both covert and overt depression. But for covert depression, men who don't really recognize that they're depressed, there's a little bit of a difference. To be able to overcome the feelings of inadequacy or worthlessness, these men swing over to the other end. That's where they go into grandiosity or belligerence. So they can't come to terms with the fact that they're feeling inadequate or less than, so they swing on the other end. So in conclusion, I want you to know there is hope, men. It takes you becoming aware, first of all, that you're feeling depressed. So remember, that's with the overt depression. You see it, you're miserable every day, you'll be able to sit with it. But also remember, for covert depression, that's the tricky part, I think, is becoming aware when you don't know that you're depressed, when you're just numbing out with substances or working 70 hours a week. So sit down with yourself and be able to come to terms with that. Also, partners of men who are depressed, what can you do to help? Have an open discussion. Don't shame them further about being depressed or having emotions. And lastly, I'll say, men, get back to your emotions. When you have an emotion, sit with it. It's okay. Sit with your emotions, feel your emotions, and understand them. Men, know there are plenty of therapists out there who are willing and able to help you, and they cannot wait to help you. I'm very encouraged by the fact that I've seen so many men come into therapy recently, and that's why I wanted to do this video. Remember, like, subscribe, and share, and let's end this legacy of depression that we've passed on for generations. Your children will be very thankful.